Okay, maybe we should start. Welcome everybody. This is our OpenFGA meeting for July 2024. I have the pleasure this time to introduce Sam Bellen. Sam Bellen works with us at Okta and in the Developer Relationships Organization, and he will be taking over moderating and running these meetings. So congratulations, Sam, from your promotion to OpenFGA
It's
community
my biggest
meeting
promotion ever.
manager.
Thank you.
And please take it away.
Thank you, Andres. And hey, everybody, very happy to be here. Yep, I'll be running these calls from now on. And to do that, I'll just start by sharing my screen. That's the first good step, I guess. There we go. So welcome to the OpenFGA community meeting of July. We do this every second Thursday of the month, which is today for July. The agenda for today is going to be some introductions. We'll go over what we just shipped, a few demos, and then we'll talk about what we're currently working on or plan to work on in the future, together with some community news. And we also want to give you the opportunity to ask some questions to the OpenFGA team. A bunch of them are in this call as well. Yeah. Let's meet the OpenFGA team. I'm not going to introduce all of them separately, but there's a bunch of people dedicating a big portion of their time to work on OpenFGA. So it's nice to see all these friendly faces on a slide together. And let's do some intros because we might have some people that have joined these meetings before. Some of you might be new to this. But if you feel like introducing yourself, go ahead. I'll start with myself because I'm also new to these calls. My name is Sam Bellen. I'm based in Belgium. As Andres introduced me, I work at Auth0 Okta in the developer relations team. And I'm interested in OpenFGA because it's a new exciting way to do authorization. While we often focus on authentication, authorization is definitely also a very important thing. So I'm very happy to be working with the FGA team here. If there's somebody else that feels like introducing themselves, feel free to unmute yourself and do so.
Hi, Mike Jackson here from Helsinki, Finland, and I'm a senior CM architect slash project manager, and I'm interested in OpenFGA, so for putting together solutions for my clients in the future.
Hey, Mike. Nice to have you on this call. Anybody else that feels like introducing themselves, or are you all excited to hear what we have to demo today?
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
I'm Joe from Paris. I'm the engineering manager for the Access Squad at Grafana Labs. And we've been checking out OpenFGA and interesting to see what you're working on.
Hello, hello. Nice to see so many Europeans on this call.
Yeah, I could say hi as well. So I'm based in Stockholm, Gustav, and I work as an IM lead within a software asset management company. So we're looking at OpenFGA as well.
I guess I'm going to go next. Hi, I'm Yanis. I'm located in Riga, Latvia. So I work for Levelpath. It's a San Francisco-based startup focused on procurement. And yeah, we are using OpenFGA in production since I think early days. So it's been more than a year already.
Nice.
Hi, my name is Neil. I write applications based off of the Nostr protocol, and I'm here really just to learn more about OpenFGA.
You came to the right place. Cool. Thanks for introducing yourselves to those who did. Let's continue with the actual substance of this call, demos and all of that. But first, let's go over what we just shipped. OpenFGA version 1.5.4 now comes with list user support, which is something that we've had in beta for a while, but it's now in this version, which is really exciting. And we have OpenTelemetry metric support in our Python and JavaScript and Java SDKs, and the Go SDK is going to follow very soon. And FGA store imports no show a progress bar when writing tuples. It's a nice little addition, but I think it looks really cool. But I've promised demos, so let's get to the demos. And first, I would like to invite Martin. He's going to do a demo on OpenFGA plus KeyCloak and Apache APISIX. Martin, do you want to share some slides?
Yeah, sure.
Then I'll figure out how to stop mine. There you go.
Okay. I'm going to share everything. Just let me know if you're seeing my screen.
Yep.
So, well, my name is Martin. I'm Identity and Access Manager Architect. I have been working in the identity space for almost like 16 years, long time. I'm from Argentina, on the other side of the world. So, well, the idea of today is to show, this is my second time here. I think last year I did the first presentation about the integration between KeyCloak and OpenFGA. And my idea of today's meeting is to show you, I would say, a new version of the workshop that basically I ended up adding new component to the authorization architecture. So I'm going to share here the presentation. I'm going to go quickly over, I would say, the previous idea of the workshop, and then I'm going to show the new version of the component I've added. So this one was, I would say, the previous version of the workshop. As you might see, for sure, nowadays is quite common in the authorization architecture that you ended up having something like this. So for the authentication journeys, it's quite common that you ended up having an identity provider. In this case, I chose KeyCloak, but the idea behind the scenes is that the application delegates there the authentication process, and you usually ended up using OpenID Connect. Nowadays, everyone is using OpenID Connect for delegating the authentication. Behind the scenes, you ended up having also OAuth 2. So I'm using both protocols, which is quite standard. On the other side, again, in this case, KeyCloak supports roles and groups as the authorization model. So behind the scenes, I ended up developing una extension on the identity provider layer. So every single time that for instance, I create a role and assign a role to a user, that extension listens to that event and synchronize real time to the OpenFGA platform. So my idea was to delegate the authentication to the identity provider and at the same time delegate the authorization to the OpenFGA server. So in the workshop, it's quite easy to follow because you have a demo application. So every single time that you want to do the authentication, the application delegates the authentication with OpenID Connect to the identity provider, and then receive the identity tokens, which is the ID token and the access token. Here we are talking about OpenID Connect and OAuth 2. And then when the app tries to access to the API products, in the previous version of the demo, the policy enforcement point was applied at the API level. So the API level in the workshop is using OpenFGA SDK. So every single time that it receives a request, it's checking with the authorization check endpoint if the user has a relationship. In this case, for instance, if the user Paula is related with a role view product as assignee. So this is the way how the workshop was working in the previous version. So again, you will find all the things that I'm I'm showing today, the article, the workshop, the plugin for KeyCloak, and also the plugin for the API gateway. Everything is available on GitHub. So in the new version of the workshop, I wanted to follow the best practice in the authorization and the authorization space. So I use policy as code. I want to offer the policies as code, and also want to decoupling the authorization from the API, and also I want to offer, I would say, a low level or low code authorization. Instead of adding those policies inside your application, I want to offer a way to show them, for instance, in a simple YAML file. In this case, I use Apache APISIX, which is an open source API gateway, and I develop a custom plugin. A plugin is basically a way to add functionality to that proxy. So I develop a custom plugin that supports reback policies, because the plugin is talking with the OpenFGA server in order to validate if the user has a proper relationship. We're going to see that in the workshop. Here is a little bit more about the product. I'm going to go quickly over the new architecture. So I'm still using the identity provider for delegating the authentication-based identity standard with OpenID Connect and OAuth 2. Then every single time that the app tries to access to the API, to a particular API, the thing that I added to the workshop is this one is like the API gateway in front of the API. I would say in this case is some kind of, I would say, authorization sidecar, because it's more related to the API store that is protecting. So following this approach, I was able to delegate the policy enforcement point to the gateway. So behind the scenes, it's quite easy nowadays following this approach to expose and at the same time to protect an API, because everything is delegated to a proxy or API gateway in front of your API. So it's quite easy to follow, to understand. And the API gateway is responsible for talking with the OpenFGA server in order to validate if the user is allowed to access to a specific service. In the workshop, you will see this, I would say, authorization model. So the user Richard is related with technical roles, and those roles are related to, for instance, an API. In this case, is the API product. And the same with Paula. Paula is related only with the product view. So this is the thing that you will find in the workshop. This is how you, I would say, define the reback policies in the API gateway. And again, for me, it's quite easy to follow, because here you will say that, okay, if the user wants to view product, which is basically a get over the API product and path, then the API gateway goes through the authorization with this plugin, which is the authorization reback or the authorization of API. And there you will define the policy, which is the user that comes from the access token has the relationship assignee over the object type, which is role in this case, because again, I'm using the role model from KeyCloak. And so with the object type roles, with the object product view. So every single time that the user try to access and view the products comes from this policy, and then the plugin is real-time validating against the OpenFGA platform, validate if the user has this proper reback policy. On the other hand, you will find here, it's quite similar, but the difference is that here I'm protecting if the user try to modify the products. Basically, the policy validates that the user must have the relationship assignee with the object role,
but in this case with the other role, which is product editor. This is the authorization architecture that you will see in the workshop. And then I'm going to jump quickly over the demo because it's going to be easy to follow. So this is the demo that, again, is available here in the GitHub repo. Everything runs as a container. So in order to deploy the workshop, is just a Docker Compose run with all the YAML files, and behind the scenes, all the component, KeyCloak, OpenFGA, and all these authorization model and the identity are configured automatically. So it's quite easy to, it's just in one click, you end up having the demo up and running. So we are going to follow the one of the use case. So I'm going to log in with Paula. I'm going to share here just to show you quickly the authorization model in KeyCloak. Well, let me check the admin user because I forgot the password. Admin password, yeah, should be admin password. I want to try it again. Yes. So you will find here, for instance, Paula. Here I'm in the KeyCloak console. So Paula is related with the, here I'm using functional role and technical role. By behind the scenes, the analyst catalog role is a functional role, which is related with the technical role, which is related to the API view product. So this is how the authorization model is handled by the KeyCloak, in this case, the identity platform. So those, I would say, events were synchronized to the KeyCloak, to the OpenFGA platform. So here you will see, for instance, this is Paula. Paula has a relationship with the role analyst role, and the analyst role is related to the view product. So every single time that I did like some kind of assignment on the KeyCloak side, behind the scene, all the events are synchronized real time to the OpenFGA authorization model, which support roles, groups, and relationship between those roles to the user. So far so good. I'm going to sign out here. So I'm going to log in with Paula. The application is integrated with OpenID Connect with the identity provider. So far so good. Here we are following the OpenID Connect standard and OAuth 2. Okay, so I'm going to try to log in. Paula, she's able to see the product information because, again, behind the scenes, the application do like requests to the API products. The API products is exposed and protected by the API gateway. This is why I'm using the API name. So the API gateway, based on the policy that I showed you before, match the roots of the API product with the HTTP method get, and the API gateway is validating that Paula has a relationship with the role view products. Because of that, Paula, she's able to see the product information. If I try to publish something, she's not able to do nothing because she's not related with the other role. If I change the users, and now I'm going to try to log in with the other guy, which is Richard. Richard. This is master beyond. So I'm going to jump to the store again. Here I'm going to log in with the other guy. So he's able to view the product information, and then if he tries to publish something, he's able to do it, because again, Richard has a relationship with both roles on the OpenFGA server. So the API gateway, thanks to the plugin, is validating that Peter is related with the view product role, and that Richard is related with the edit product role. So because of that, he's able to do everything inside the application. I'm not going to take too much time here, but again, you will find everything. Here is the latest article that I brought that is talking about following this approach, policy as code, decoupling authorization, and low-code authorization. You will find here a high-level overview of the workshop, and you will find there the reback policies inside the gateway, and below you will find the article and also the integration, the plugin that support the integration between APISIX and OpenFGA for validating the reback policies. So for me, again, decoupling the authorization is a very good approach, because simplify every single time that you want to expose an API, you basically define the YAML file with your authorization rule, which is, again, is quite easy to follow. And then you delegate there to the API gateway all the policy enforcement decisions. So far so good. This is the workshop. Again, behind the scenes, there's a lot of theory, OpenID Connect, OAuth2, and again, the integration with OpenFGA. But again, those topics are available in the article.
Perfect. Thank you very much,
talking.
Martin.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I have a question. So in the example you're showing, you're doing kind of you're not taking advantage of the fine-grained authorization features, in the sense that you're using more role-based access, right? Based on the role, you can view all products or edit all products, right? You could actually, if you had, for example, a page where you can click in a product and then you go to that specific page, you could actually have something that even if it's role-based, the permission will be on a specific product, right? So, and your model could say, if you have the permission at the top level, you have the role of view product, you can view any product, but the check will be more on the product ID, right? So in the API gateway, you will have more, can this user view this product ID? And OpenFGA in the back will kind of, infer that based on the role, right? Make sense?
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, in the workshop, I ended up using the role model because it's something that comes with KeyCloak, but then you could extend the authorization model into the product details of the product ID, and then you ended up modifying the FGI authorization model to go to that fine-grained authorization. Yeah, it's possible. For me, it was, again, the first step to show like a real scenario based on roles, but then at the end of the day, you ended up customizing the authorization model in OpenFGA. Yeah.
Makes sense.
We have a question in the chat. Carlos says, nice job with the plugin, but I have a question. Since authorization is implemented via proxy, doesn't this still have the same issue as all authorization proxies, whereby you might lack some of the contextual data that could be required to make the authorization decision? And then he mentions, I think Andres' question and mine are along the same line. So cool.
Yeah, so I think there's a detail there that's interesting in general with API gateways, which is, and before OpenFGA or systems like this, the API gateways could only use the data that you had in the access token to make a decision because that's the data they had available, or you had to start doing calls from the API gateway to other services to get additional data, which added additional latency and potentially like availability issues if any of those services weren't available. Right? The nice thing about the OpenFGA approach is that you have all the data you need to make the decision in FGA, right? And so that helps you just with you can do fine-grained access that depends on a lot of data and with a single call from the gateway, right? Because you put that data in FGA directly, right? So that makes like a FGA a very good candidate for being implemented in an API gateway, and better than what you can do with access tokens, because you can only validate a token, and then in your application you need to do more validations based on the data you have in the application that is application specific, right? Here, all the authorization data logic can be, defined in OpenFGA, and you can call it from the gateway. Right?
Yeah, I mean, and another point in my view is it's still good to use OAuth 2 because it's a way to identify the user. So I'm using the token for identifying the user, which is for me is great because it's quite common to use OpenID Connect for the application. So everything is based identity Strata, but then I'm delegated the fine-grained to the OpenFGA platform because one of the things Andres was saying that when you started with OAuth 2, you ended up protecting the API-based scopes or identity claim. So it's like a coarse-grained authorization. So yeah, it's help you with a basic use case, but for sure you will need fine-grained. So this is why I delegate fine-grained to the OpenFGA platform.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? So you need a token. The token is to get the user identity and also to validate that you can actually call the API that you're allowed to call that API. The token is to be valid, but you need to validate the token. But you will use it just to know, who's the user, and can that user call this API? But to the proper authorization, you don't use the data in the token. You call API. Great, perfect. And
Thank
then
you very much, Martin. Do we have any other questions, or should we continue? Going once, going twice. Okay, cool. If you're working on something with OpenFGA and you want to show it to the rest of the community, feel free to reach out to me on Slack, the CNCF Slack, and we'll make that happen. Let's share my screen again. So thank you again, Martin. Next, we'd like to talk a bit about performance improvements, and I think Adrian is on this call.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Adrian, and I'm just going to highlight some of the performance improvement that we have been working on for the last month, 2 months or so. So the purpose of our work is we have received feedback from the community, saying that there are certain scenarios where there are opportunities for improvement. More specifically, we noticed that in certain cases, the number of data store query increases linearly with the relation cardinality. So it's like big O of n, increase in latency, increase in data store query as the number of relation cardinality increase. So with that in mind, we want to address a few cases. So next slide, please. The first case that we addressing is that the user set. So in this case, we have a document viewer, which can be assigned with group members. And in our experiment, we have increased, can you go back to the previous slide? Yes, thank you. In our experiment, what we have done is that we have assigned like 10,000 to 50,000 groups to a specific document. And then we run a few cases to prove what we have improved on. Next slide. So the first case, what we have done is that, let's say that we have 10,000 groups assigned to a document. But we want to check whether a particular user, which is not part of any group, and to see what is the performance of it. So with that in mind, what we have seen is that with our new algorithm, the latency is only 8% of what we have saw before. So in that, we can interpret as about 12.5 times improvement for P50. And if we look at the P99 latency case, the new latency is only 4% of what it was before, so which is about 25 times improvement. And so this is the case where the user is not part of any group. And if let's say that if the user is assigned to the first group, so for 10,000 tuples or for 10,000 groups, the new latency is about 83% of what it was before, which is about like 20% improvement or so. And the P99 case is about like about 3 times improvement. And if we extend this to a 50,000 tuples case, we see that for the P99 cases, P99 latency number, it will be about like 5 times improvement, right? Because the new number, the new latency is only 18% of what it was before. And this number is even more dramatic when we look into the improvement when, let's say, the user is assigned to the last group. For the 10,000 group case, we see that there is about 20 times improvement in P99 and about 7 times improvement when we look at 50,000 groups assigned to it. So the take-home message is that with the new algorithm that we have implemented, that it is order of magnitude improvement in the case of user set when the cardinality is high. Can you, next slide? Not only with the user set, but we also see improvement in the tuple to user set. So in this case, we have the classic of there's group member, and the document is assigned as a group, group being an owner of it, and the viewer will be member from the group, right? And similar to the previous experiment, we assigned 10,000 to 50,000 groups as owner for the document. And what we see is that because of short time, but let's say the scenario, that last scenario we discussed, where the user is assigned to the last group. For 50,000, let's say that the document has 50,000 groups assigned as owner for it. We see that there are 5 times improvement in the P99 number for 50,000 groups. So, and the key takeaway for that is that the reason why there's such a huge improvement is that instead of doing big O of N, like let's look up in the data store, we only need to do a few lookup and then just compare the result, the intersection result. And we see dramatic improvement in the latency. So the code right now, what the experiment and the improvement code, the code improvement has now been merged into the main, and it will be available in our next release. And the performance improvement work does not stop here. We will plan for additional improvement for the user set and tuple to user set case. In addition, we will look at more use cases for check and apply the similar optimization for list objects and list users. Next slide. So some of the improvement that we will work on next is, for example, in the case of recursive user set assignment, right? So in this case, the group member can be, a group member can be assigned to as member of another group. So as you can see, there will be recursion on that. And right now, with our current optimization, we have not be, we will need to work further on to improve the performance on that. And next slide. So, and further, and another case that we will look at next is the computer user set, right? So in this case, let's say that you don't assign a group member as allowed, but instead we assign viewable member for a group as allowed. We will work on this next to optimize the performance. So with that in mind, any questions? So I see that the question is what is the underlying changes to achieve the improvement? So previously, if there are multiple groups assigned to a user set or tuple user set, we have to traverse to each of these groups and to see whether there are member assigned to these groups. However, when we look at the algorithm, we can optimize it by looking at intersection, say, okay, if there is any user belong to any member of a group, and then if there is, and what is the group assigned it to this document, and to find the intersection of those groups. If there is intersection, then there is a relationship established. But if there's no intersection, we don't, right? So in this case, you can see that it involves only two lookup. One is to see whether any group is assigned to the document, and then what is the group that is being assigned to the for the user.
So these changes are already merged, so they are not released yet. If someone wants to test the improvements they will need to build OpenFGA from the GitHub repo, which is not very difficult, but you can do that. We want to ship this very soon, so hopefully this week or early next week will be a new release with these changes. So I encourage you to give it a try. In particular, if you were concerned about performance, this will give you a bump. And the things we are looking to improve, and we will also address more scenarios, right? So we still have a few things that can improve performance in the scenario that will have a great impact in
Just
your runtime experiences. Yeah.
Sorry, just one follow-up question to that, Adrian. So based on what you said about doing this intersection of the content groups and the user groups, is it effectively a form of doing the search with permissions kind of problem where you're applying this kind of intersection?
Exactly.
Like you're taking the user groups and the source groups and taking an intersection?
It's similar idea, but not exactly.
Mm.
Right? Like the idea is like we kind of like we do some shortcuts when we know that there are like things that we can match, right? Because anytime we don't have to go through the whole entire list, and anytime we just do one or like 2 or 3 data store queries instead of n query, there is a substantial optimization there, because what we see is that the longest latency is anytime we need to do the data store query. So anytime we can reduce the number of that, there will be performance win from there.
Got it. Thanks.
I've seen Gillian's questions. Can you clarify what you mean about any prompt metrics? Do you mean about the new improvements that we plan to do?
Yeah, so I was thinking more like when you add these kind of performance improvements, it would be nice that I can measure them on my end as well.
Yeah, so the ones that you so you mean like if you want to have some kind of a script or something to test it, so you can measure on your site, or you mean about these new ones that we're building, what kind of performance impact are going to have?
I think it was more of a general question, like whenever you do kind of performance improvements, it would be nice if we have some kind of Prometheus metrics already in place. So for example, our OpenFGA server,
okay, so
monitoring
we do have those, right? So latency is reported as a metric. So if we are measuring latency with Prometheus, you should be able to see that. Yeah. Immediately after you release a new version, you'll see a decrease on latency. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that all of your models have have the scenarios that we improved, right? So you're going to see an improvement for sure. And you also have other scenarios like this one that is here that is not improved yet, but we'll see similar improvements in performance once we apply the same techniques to these use cases.
Got it. Thank you.
I think we have another question come in the chat, Andres. Do we have any prom metrics around these type of performance improvements?
Yeah, that was the
Oh,
one
sorry,
I
the
was
deep
addressing.
design
Yeah.
Sorry, it just
Yeah,
came in.
I didn't. I had a travels with prom. I didn't know that prom was Prometheus. Now I learned that.
All right. So we're running low on time, so I'm going to continue. With some now and next, our roadmap looks like this. Is there something specifically you want to call out, Andres?
No, are we going to? We had that idea of doing the open telemetry meeting
Yep.
demo, but I don't know if it's the same thing we did the last time or not.
I think we're keeping that for next time.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
Have it implemented in all SDKs because we're running short on time. We'll just skip this for now.
Oh, makes sense. Yeah, you're on the same track. Okay, so first, some of the things that we're working on. So we demoed the first one, the last meeting, and we are close to wrapping it up in the server, and we're going to expose it in the SDKs. That is adding a parameter to all queries to specify that you don't want to use the cache and you want to go directly to the database. So, we are working on telemetry. So we have already shipped Python and JavaScript with metrics on the SDKs, and we are also going to complete the rest of the SDKs with metrics and then add tracing and logs. We've done performance improvements that we also share them, and we never have time to go into more details about authorization, but we're also working on that. So that is in progress. And things we're going to work next. So we're building an integration with Envoy. It's another API gateway. And we've been working, and you've been sharing some progress with you on the search with permissions. That is a long seamless work. We're still thinking about it and working on it. And then we are going to start building bad check in the server. Today we have bad check in the client, but we're going to move that to the server, and we're going to start working on that after we wrap up the work with additional consistency options. So pretty soon.
Berlin is really excited about bad checks in the server. I think we all can be excited about that. So yay for that. Lastly, it's a little bit of community news. We are running a community survey. We'd like to get your input in how we build OpenFGA and what you use, what you don't use, what you want to see from us. So if you have a few minutes, go to the link or scan the QR code and fill in the survey. It would help us a lot. I'll share this link in the CNCF OpenFGA Slack channel as well, if you are not going to click or type it over or scan your QR code. Maria and Evan from StackLog, they've presented at the CNCF SecurityCon, so it was really nice to see them on stage at the CNCF event. So congratulations to them. And the OpenFGA team is working together with the CNCF Tech Security team on a joint security assessment. If you want to know more, go to the CNCF Tech Security GitHub repo and look for the pull request for OpenFGA, and you'll find a lot of more details. Andres, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, was together with Nate from Zuplo. He had a conversation with him. And if you're interested in that, go to the link landing.zuplo.com/octafga webinar reg, and you'll be able to see the recording of that.
A comment there. So I suggest you, if you are kind of getting into FGA or want to understand more about different ways of deploying it, they did a lot of interesting work there. Like this thing of they doing GCP. They have an API gateway, so they need to run the checks very close to the gateway. So they ended up like having like a Postgres with replication. So they have like a centralized server where they write, but every region in GCP is reading from a different Postgres replica, and they explain a little how that worked for them, and so there's a lot of interesting details there.
It's a good conversation. So yep, check it out. Lastly, we've added two new adapters added themselves to the adapters.md file on the community repo on our OpenFGA organization. So if you're using OpenFGA in production, feel free to add yourself to that adapters.md file so we can tell everybody that you're using it and be proud of that.
Thank you, Gerline, for that.
Lastly, questions. We don't have time for questions, but we're always available on the CNCF OpenFGA Slack channel. So if you have any questions, feel free to post them there and we'll be happy to help you there. That's it for now. Maybe one last mention. We used a Discord channel in the past, but we've moved to the CNCF Slack a few months ago. So if you're still on the Auth0 Labs Discord channel, it's time to move on over to the CNCF Slack, and you'll find all of us on that Slack channel as well. That's the last thing I have to say today, apart from thank you all for joining, and I hope to see you all next month, the second Thursday of July.
Of August?
Of August. Sorry, it's July already. Time flies.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.